Our next panelist is I-Wen Chang. I-Wen Chang is an assistant professor at Taipei National University of the Arts. She received her PhD in Culture and Performance at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. Her areas of specialization include salsa dance, Taiwanese theatrical dance, interdisciplinary and intercultural performance. She serves as a board member of International Association of Theater Critics in Taiwan and Taiwan Dance Research Society. I-Wen is the co-author of the book Pina Bausch, Dancing for the World, and a performance critic for the Artist magazine Taipei and Performing Arts Review magazine Taipei since 2007.
Hello, my topic is about dancing from south to south, and I'm looking at the intercultural performance by both the Thai choreographer, Pichet Klunchun, and the Taiwanese choreographer, Chen Wu-Kang. So I'll just go directly to the show, Behave, that took place at the Cloudgate Theater in 2018. In the beginning part, these two performers each take turn to perform. They set up a timer from a cell phone, each takes 3 minutes to reflect their own movement journey. Klunchun has arranged play with and even kissed the ornament of corn dance costumes. His movements fade away from traditional dance codes into daily gestures, conveying the message of diverging from tradition. Contrary to Klunchun, Chen begins with his arms open wide, his hands extended onto shape of cross. He uses extremities such as wrist, feet, hand to articulate the periphery of his body. In the end, he crawls into a small mesophobic position as self-revelation of departure of his previous ballet training. In the second part, there is a fake post-show discussion takes place at the middle of the show. Chen brings a chair on stage, inviting the audience to ask questions. After that, he goes to the audience seats and randomly gives one audience member a play card, said the end. And this select person is asked to hold this up and hold this sign until he lifts his play card at any point, which would function to declare the performance is officially over. In the premiere, the select person lifted his play card about 3 minutes after he was given the sign. On the second night, the play card was lifted after 30 or 40 minutes, so the audience are able to watch the really exciting improvisation between the two performers. Unfortunately, on the third night, the play card was lifted as soon as it was given to the selected audience member, making it the shortest of the 3 nights. This dance has been wilder than many traditional dance show goers. What confuses the audience is the experimental approach these two choreographers use. No one knows when the show will end. This is also not what an intercultural performance, quote unquote, used to look like at the Cloudgate Dance Theater, a classical venue in Taipei. For instance, some audience left during the discussion without realizing it was part of the show. Their departure implied that they had also missed the later part of the show. On another night, one audience member shouted out, "Is this a joke?" during the fake post-show discussion. Whatever this comment was meant for, it certainly represents a puzzling moment during the performance. In that regard, I wanted to argue that these two choreographers were using a contemporary approach to offer a new way to reflect the genealogy of corporeal conformity in the context of their respective tradition and contemporaneity. So I would like to contextualize in the broader studies of intercultural performance, as we know it actually intercultural performance has generated a lot of colonial and Orientalism problems. And in the context of Taiwan, the standard dance discourse is Euro-American centered, and the imaginary interculator is the West. And the professional education training system is also Western centric. This has reinforced the binary West and the other system. So I wanted to define this South-South coalition as a practice that can improve the discourse of intercultural performance. In Klunchun and Chen's case, this South and South alliance takes place between artists sharing colonial past to team up in resistance to the dominance of the West. So I would like to put Taiwan in this map and then consider Taiwan as part of the South, especially with the indigenous people, and also after the Cold War, there has been a growing recognition of the Taiwan and South Asian linkage. With the rise of the Taiwanese consciousness since the early 1980s, public discussion have turned to Taiwan's reviving position on the South map and the government have launched this new southbound policy by the current president I-Wen, that as an extension of the previous southbound policy in the 1990s. And this is the ideological turn that offer a lot of shift in the culture exchange. Even though this new southbound policy appears to be a top-down policy, but in practice, it invites cultural practitioners and scholars to initiate southbound projects that opens up for new research topics unimagined or ignored before. Convenience such as visa application, educational resources, and funding offer artists great chance to experiment and collaborate. So here are some examples listed here. And another collaboration called Roma's House by Chen, Wu-Kang, and Klunchun is also a ramification of the South-South agenda. Its first work in progress took place in Asia Discover Asia meeting for contemporary performance, abbreviation ADAM, in the summer of 2019. The meeting is funded by the Taipei Performing Arts Center as a curatorial practice that aims to bring Southeast and Northeast Asian artists to conduct their research in Taipei since 2017. So I'm going to talk about this performance. Again, I'm going to show you the performance. It took place in the Wisteria House. It's a historical site in Taipei. And in the beginning part, the two dancers started the dialogue about the differences between their identical moves, even though they perform with the same posture in the same sequence of actions. The audience could see clearly the difference between their bodily textures, as Chen is more sudden compared to the Klunchun is more long and calm in terms of their movement. And then they begin to ask each other about the details of the practice of these dance, such as the height of the movement, the angles of the hand, and their eyes gaze. After confirming and correcting each other, they took off their loose trousers and changed into dark clothes made of gorgeous fabric, which is right here. It's a long process of the detail process. And that after that, they invited a volunteer audience to come on stage and help them stretching. So the audience sit back to back with the dancer and he is asked to use their feet to help the other dancer to open up their feet against the wall. And in this process, you can see the dancer on the wall, his face is distorted with a painful expression. And then when they asked if the audience member wants to try, the audience member immediately responds, no, thank you, and then everyone laughs. So this process illustrates the dancers are flesh and blood, and they can feel pain and fatigue. Dancers are no longer unattainable visual spectacle as normally shown in Kong. The performance demystified the secret of the classical dance. The training process, the technical development, and the preparation of stage are directly displayed in front of the audiences. And finally, they walk outdoor of the Wisteria House garden, where they liberate themselves from the previous disciplined bodies. Each occupy different loci in the garden, practicing breathing, yoga movement, and imitating gestures of flora and fauna, such as monkey, bird, and even plants. Their body interact with the garden's echo setting. At one point, Klunchun actually slipped into the pond, his hand steering in the water to play with the fish swimming by. In this process, their movement revealed the sunyata, a Buddhist concept of emptiness, that all things are equal and empty of intrinsic nature. So this show is the opening performance of Roma's House as an exhibition curated by Chen in Wisteria House, Tea House in Taipei. It's a historical area. And this exhibition showcased their project that explored the dance rituals of Ramayana in Southeast Asia. From 2017 to 2019, they traveled to the World Cultural Heritage Site in Thailand, Cambodia, Indonesia, and Myanmar, conducting fieldwork and learning the dance with the local masters. There's something wrong with my PowerPoint. I couldn't move. So I hope everyone can still listening to me. But I wanted to say that Klunchun's experiment of Kong has several points that is subversive. It breaks the hierarchy between the performance and the audience, such as giving the audience member the authority to end the show. It is non-narrative, but rather follows a conceptual structure sequence, such as the use of equal turns on two dancers on stage, the fake post-show discussion, Third, the dancers perform nonverbal movements, such as how they use their bodily extremities. Last but not least, the opening performance of the Rama's house shattered the sacredness of Kong. Dancers are no longer serving the god nor the royal family, but ordinary audience. These dancers thus become ordinary humans on stage. Underlying Klunchun's experiment are search for equality in dance at 3 levels: performer versus audience, Thai artist versus Taiwanese artist, human versus non-human. The approaches is emphasizing equality and neutrality between the 2 artists. This is demonstrated by means of several formal arrangement in behalf, such as the equal time spent taken by each artist on stage, regulated by a timer, their way of sitting while the other was performing, the symmetrical position of both on stage, and the equal exchange between mobility and stillness. Even the title behalf means being a representative of the other or being each other's half, institutes such a symmetrical balance. Chen, on the other hand, is a 3rd-generation descendant of mainlanders who immigrated to Taiwan after 1949. He's in search for Taiwanese identity through dance. He actually is trained in ballet and modern dance, and his body has no traditional base authenticity, quote unquote, as what Klunchun needs to negotiate with. Instead, Chen explores different kinds of dance tradition as a contemporary choreographic strategy to fill in his vacant bodily subjectivity. On the other hand, Chen was surprised that many in Taiwan dance circles were skeptical of his project. People keep asking me, he said, why do you want to learn from South Asian dancers? Why not just cooperate with Western contemporary choreographers? A common assumption of culture exchange goes only collaboration with the West can be seen as an international co-production. To the contrary, Klunchun and the Chen initiative provides a new imagination of contemporary dance under the concept of decentralization. So in the end, this is my conclusion that positioning Taiwanese dance by beyond Euro-American centrism and relocating it in Southeast Asia as part of the South-South affiliation points a new direction of study in the intercultural performance. Thank you.